Okay, hopefully you guys can hear me, see me, all that sort of fun stuff. This is just my way of trying to keep you guys in the loop of what we're doing in the weight room and um, just kind of make sure you're informed of what I'm doing and how it's supposed to help, not hurt, all that sort of stuff. So this is the last block, obviously, that we'll go through in the weight room. We now take a huge shift from what we were doing even in season till now. And I know, Mitch, you were in the room the other night when I kind of talked to the boys about this. Beth, I don't think you were in the room when I talked to the girls about this, but um, basically, there's three divisions of focus in season. So, in the early part of in season, the big priority is to develop some power. So start to add in, the explosive movements of explosive jump, explosive loaded jumps, all that sort of stuff, med ball stuff. Anything explosive is where we start to tailor that in at the start of the season, and strength drops of importance. It's not a huge deal for us anymore. In the middle of the season, we usually see the athletes peak out in terms of like vertical jump height and speed and all that sort of stuff. Um, because they're now in that sort of training mode, but they're also not super fatigued. And then at this point in the season, this is when the book and all your college professors would tell you this is when your athletes need to be peaking out right as the playoff push comes. But the reality that isn't written in the book is that by this time everybody's usually pretty too beat up to peak out at the right time. So the peak out really happens in terms of performance in my room in that middle part of the season. And now we're pretty much just trying to maintain the power that we hopefully do have and not let it drop off the last few weeks of the season, as well as tailor to some mobility and tissue health type things. So really, really quick, just kind of going to buzz through this stuff. Everything you're going to see here is power emphasized or mobility recovery related. So a depth drop to a broad jump, they're going to drop off the bench and broad jump as far as they possibly can. 5 reps, really low volume, high quality. 90-90 hip switch is a hip mobility drill. Just a very easy way to work on some hip mobility while they rest for the broad jump. We go from an unweighted explosive exercise to a weighted explosive exercise. This is just a trap bar jump from the floor. So they're going to be in a squat-like position, jump as high as they can. These percentages here, the 35 and the 40 and the 45, those are all percentages of their maximum trap bar deadlift. So like if they trap bar deadlift 225 pounds, that 35% of that is what they're going to jump with from the floor. And that percentage is based off a ton of research in terms of what we can move fast while having a sustainable load on there. The landmine throw, they're on one knee and they're just throwing the barbell up. Again, another loaded explosive exercise, but for the upper body this time. And that's it. I mean, in reality, we have 3 explosive exercises that aren't going to make them sore at all. And then we have a hip mobility exercise. And then when we get down here, another hip region, a lot of glute mobility here, a quad and hip flexor stretch with a band, and then some T-spine mobility in the middle of their back. So yeah, this whole block here is just focused on mobility. Getting into their second day, you're going to see a very similar concept, power block, some tissue health, and then a foam roll with mobility. Stretch shortening cycle, step up jumps, again, just another explosive jumping exercise. We have to play the balance of jumping enough, but not jumping too much. And if we don't do those explosive exercises, they lose all of the work that we've done for the past however many weeks trying to develop some of that explosiveness. So it's important to dose it in the correct amounts, but not overdo it. So just 3 sets of 5, really low volume, high quality work. Half kneeling adductor rocker is just a adductor mobility drill. Just keeping our hips loose, working on stretching out the adductor and keeping our hip region mobile. Going down into that second block, we have barbell squat jump. Very similar concept. These percentages are pulled off of a percent of their maximum barbell back squat.